can't, ooh. But I'm going to read it from New American Standard. Just little verses, pick them out sort of arbitrarily from the second chapter of Song of Solomon. It says, I am lovesick. Let his left hand be under my head and his right hand embrace me, that you may not arouse or waken my love until she pleases. Listen, my beloved, behold, he is coming, climbing on the mountains, leaping on the hills. My beloved is like a gazelle and a young stag. Behold, he is standing behind our wall. He is looking through the windows. He is peering through the lattice. My beloved responded and said to me, arise, my darling, my beautiful one, and come along. O my dove, in the clefts of the rock, in the secret place of the steep pathway, let me see your form. Let me hear your voice. For your voice is sweet and your form is lovely. And then there's this 15th verse. And the 15th verse, in the middle of this fabulously intimate love sonnet with such beautiful verbiage. Oh, I mean, if we had this kind of verbiage in expressing love, it would be, in this beautiful verbiage, there's almost a sound of a cymbal clash. Shoom! Because you bump into this verse. Catch the little foxes for us, the little foxes that are ruining the vineyards while our vineyards are in bloom. What is that all about? Here is a man and a wife coming together in beautiful love making, and right in the middle of it, watch the little foxes. And they come into the vineyard while the blossoms are blooming, while we're making love, and they're destroying the intimacy. What is that about? Little foxes. In a marriage relationship, when big problems come, usually this draws a couple closer together. Have you noticed that? Someone loses a job, boy, the wife clings on, the husband clings on. A problem with a child, you move close together. A problem with a grandchild, my, how that unites us. A problem in financial areas, a problem in emotional areas. All the big problems that come up in everybody's life, the husband and wife tend to move closer together and lean on one another. Sometimes she holds him up. Sometimes he holds her up, and they hold each other. Big problems have a way of doing that. But it's the little foxes that destroy a marriage. It's termites. Termites destroy more homes in America than all the fires. Did you know that? You don't even see them, and they're there. And they undercut the foundation, and they destroy homes. It's true in marriage. These termites come in. Little inconsistencies, little oversights, a bite, a barb, cynicism, always there, cutting, knifing, laughing at, making fun of. Oh, just little bitty things that come up. Forgetting to understand, forgetting to be sympathetic, just being silent when you need to have a little cheerleading going on. I mean, just little foxes destroy intimacy in marriage. What are some of those foxes? Well, we could name a whole long list of them. One fox would be that romance is unimportant in marriage. Or the other extremity would be romance and sexual intimacy is all that marriage is. Let me tell you what sexual intimacy is in marriage. Explain it like this. How many of you sometime this week at least had eggs for breakfast? Would you lift your hand? Confess your sin. If you had eggs for breakfast. All right. Now, did you notice, did you put a little salt on it? Yeah. You know, to eat eggs without salt is sort of a stretch. It's pretty bland. Sexual intimacy in a marriage is the salt. It gives the flavor. It gives the zest. It puts taste. It's not everything. Say, well, I had for breakfast, what'd you have? Salt. No, it's not everything. It is a symbol, we've already discovered, of our intimate relationship with God in Jesus Christ. It is for pleasure. It is for procreation. It is a symbol of oneness. It's all of that, but it is salt. It's not the whole thing. Some people think that's all marriage is, and that is a little fox that'll destroy a relationship. It's big, it's taste, but it's not the whole thing by a million miles. Now, what's another fox? Another fox is somebody says, how's your marriage? Oh, it's okay. How's your marriage? It is terrific. And you would say, you sure are lucky. Ladies and gentlemen, teenagers, luck has nothing to do with a dynamic, fulfilling marriage. Understand that right up front. Now, you say you're lucky. What makes a marriage work? A lot of things, but a couple of things, you have to work at it. Oh, yeah. And you have to work smart. You have to work skillfully. I'm working at my marriage. You don't know how to work at your marriage. You don't have the skill to work at your marriage. It takes work. It takes skill. And a little fox that comes in our marriage, well, I was just unlucky, I didn't marry my soulmate. I didn't find the right one. I don't know. I'm just unlucky. That's a fox. Another fox that comes in, the idea that, love is an emotion. Oh, it's a feeling. Oh, yeah. We fell in love and we've fallen out of love. And I don't love her. I don't love him. Our love is gone. Therefore, our marriage is gone. Who told you love is a feeling? Love is something you do. So the idea that love is a feeling, it's an emotion, it's something you do. And the emotions follow along. When you live with your mate with understanding, with listening, and then you try to figure out exactly how God has uniquely wired them, let me tell you something. Love will be there, and that emotion will come. Let me give you what happens to marriage. Let me show you a verse of scripture you have never heard of that's applied to marriage. Turn left if you're in Song of Solomon. Look at the book of Proverbs. By the way, bring your Bibles to church. You can't know the players unless you have a program. Look at Proverbs chapter 14. I'm going to give you a verse you've never seen used in marriage. Proverbs 14:4. Where no oxen are, the manger is clean, but much revenue comes by the strength of the ox. Now, you don't have to be Phi Beta Kappa, an exegete, or skillful in hermeneutics to understand what that verse is saying. Any Texan understands it. If you have an ox in the manger, in the stable, in the corral, in the stall, you're going to have poo. Am I going too fast for some? Paul called it dung. Now, but you've got to decide if you have an ox, says the book of Proverbs, and you're going to have poo, but you have an ox, you automatically have poo, but there is a profit there. Did you see it? There's a reward there. There's a result of having an ox because you can harvest, you can build things, you can grow things. See the difference there? So with the ox goes poo. But also with the ox, there is profit. And that's the way it is with marriage. Somebody said, I didn't know we'd have this poo in our marriage. I thought that the birds would wake us up in the morning and the rabbits would clean house and the chipmunks would cook breakfast and the squirrels would wash the dishes. I mean, my goodness. And in my marriage, we have some poo. Now, that's part of it. And a lot of people, when poo comes and it just stacks up, and sometimes you have a sick ox, you've got more poo than you need. And you don't know what to do with it. We give up. I married the wrong one. This isn't the way it's supposed to be. Let me tell you something. Marriage has joy and fulfillment and meaning in it. And there's going to be times that some things get rather sticky and stinky and unseemly. That's a part of it. And it's how we relate to this, how we understand that some of our marriage are between irresistible. That's at the marriage altar. Remember, I do, I will, I do, I will. There's an irresistibility about him or about her from all the way to incompatibility. Irresistibility, incompatibility. And most of us live between those two. Irresistible, incompatible. Irresistible, incompatible. And that's where we try to abide. And when there gets so much poo there, because the man or the woman do not operate on the basis of biblical principles to make that marriage growing and exciting and deepening and widening and broadening and creative, well, it just piles up in there. And that gives an atmosphere where a third party could come into that marriage. A third party. An affair. It can be an affair with your mind when you're addicted to pornography. This is true of a lot of people who are older. Well, I deserve this. I need this. It's okay. Adultery in your mind. Jesus talks about in Matthew 5 how deadly that is. Needs radical surgery. Don't just taper off, cut it out. Or it can be actually a third party coming in. Well, I thought that would never happen to us. It was irresistibility, and now there's incompatibility, and I must have picked the wrong one. And so a third party can come in. And it starts so subtly. Happy hour. A lot of people get off from work. They have to go by a bar somewhere and get lubricated before they go home and face their wife or their husband. That's right. And there's an atmosphere. I can be free. There's no restraints. Don't worry about children or problems. Man, this is the place, and I really can express myself. And the whole atmosphere comes into being there that can lead to infidelity, that can lead to a mindset and a lifestyle that'll cut the rug out from under your marriage. My house, I have a security system. Go to bed at night, I mash a button, bang, it said beep, and all through my house. If you come in a window, door, the attic, anywhere else, an alarm will go off. I feel safe there because no one can come in without me knowing about it. No one can come in. Nothing can come in. A burglar can come in without me knowing about it. I thought about that and I said, this is what we need to have affair-proof marriages. We need security systems. First of all, I suggest you put a security system around your life. Around your life. How do you put a security system around your life? It starts right here. As a man thinketh, so is he. We're to build in our mind the mind of Christ. Garbage in, garbage out. What you listen to, what you see, where you go, keep that mind clear. The first glance is okay. Billy Graham says, I see a lovely woman walking by. I look at her once, but he said it's that second glance. That second glance. Don't have a second glance, guys, gals. Don't do that. That's where trouble begins. You go to a football game and all of a sudden you don't even know everybody has those binoculars till the halftime when the cheerleaders come out and boy, there they go. Deadly. 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 Mark my words, it begins in the mind. The Bible says we're to take every thought that comes. In other words, when here's this picture, here's this mind, when we take it and a thought comes, we deal with it and we let Christ take captive of it and we move on. It's when we take those sensual thoughts and we play with them and we turn on our pornograph and we play them over and over. See, nobody knows about that. I deserve that pleasure. We rationalize it away. That's where the trouble begins. It always begins in the mind. Always in the mind. So keep a watch over your mind. That's a part of security system built around yourself. The other thing, your friends. If you go with friends and there's a loose promiscuity, a kind of talk, and we're just good friends, we share all this, That's not the kind of relationship you want to be a part of. Because sometimes we wake up and say, I couldn't believe that Billy ran off with Alice, and there's couples, they were best friends. Where have you been? Pick your friends, your intimate friends, to make sure they're on the same page and there's good humor and godly relationship and fun together and activity together. But pick your friends very carefully. And what about where you work, in the marketplace? You see, we go to work, we look our best, we smile, with everything. We go home and say, is that the same person? Where's all that personality? Where's all that interest? What happens to them? What do you do to protect yourself? I don't know what you do, but if you want to put a security system around yourself in the marketplace, for years I did a lot of counseling. I don't do that anymore. If I do any counseling, I sit down in the worship center. I do about that much, and I'm the worst counselor you'll ever talk with. Really, I'm terrible. I am awful. So don't go for me for counseling. I don't do that. We've got professionals. But when I did a lot of counseling as a young pastor, I realized this is a pretty intimate situation. You run into a lot of stuff. And I'd heard already that all women fall in love with their pastor and their doctor, and I didn't want to be in that chain. So when I did counseling, and I could take you right to the desk. I got a big desk. I put a big Bible in the middle of the desk, big old Bible in the middle of the desk. I would seat them over there in a chair that was very uncomfortable. And I would put pictures of my wife and my children, my grandchildren on my desk. On the credenza, I'd put a picture of my wife and my children, my grandchildren, big pictures behind my desk. I had a window I can take to the office that was open and the sun would climb in and blind the person I was talking to. And if they got to me, they had to crawl over a big desk, all of my family, and a Bible. And they couldn't see because the sun had blinded them. Ladies and gentlemen, build a security system around yourself at work. You know what Paul said to Timothy in this area? He said, treat older people with respect. Treat peers, men and women, as your brother and your sister. Have that mindset. This is my brother. This is my sister. Treat younger men and women as if they were your sons and your daughters. If you build in that mindset, that'll help you put that security system around your life. Also, you need to put a security system around your mate, around your wife, around your husband. You say, well, what does that look like? Well, maybe you ought to give them a chastity belt for Christmas. No, maybe you ought to get a detective to follow them. Or check their email. They've been talking to their phone. Get their computer and have somebody to work it out. Search their pockets. What do you do? How do you put a security system around your wife, around your husband? I'll tell you one thing you do right up front. I'll make it easy for you. You just build such a relationship with them that you have a Rolls Royce home relationship with your wife, your husband, and they won't be interested in trading that Rolls Royce for a bicycle. And it's how you look on marriage. Dr. Willard Harley has a wonderful book. He talks about how we think of ourselves in romantic relationships. He said one image is we're freeloaders. Some people are married, they're freeloaders. Well, as long as I get what I want, I'm in this thing. But when I stop getting what I want, I'm out of here. Freeloaders. I'm not going to pay any price. It's got to just be natural. Love all this come automatically. Man, freeloaders. Some people look in marriage, deal in marriage, and you're a freeloader. Others are renters. You go and say, okay, I'm going to stay married. A renter does a little more than a freeloader. A renter will do some things, keep the house clean and work at some things to keep the relationship. But primarily, if a better place comes along that's cheaper, you're going to move there. And if something better comes along, I'm out of here. A renter. But our relationship should be one of a buyer. I'm here for life. I've bought in. I've sold out. This commitment is sacred unto God. It is irrevocable. It is exclusive. It is ours. It is magnificent. You see, I bought this whole thing. You know, it's amazing to me how most of us had stood in some kind of church service and the pastor, we've exchanged vows, I will and I do, and we've promised to be faithful to one another till death do us part, before family and before friends, in a sacred contract, a covenant before God and a contract of the state. How in the world does Satan get in that kind of overwhelming commitment? Little foxes, little termites, little inconsistencies. So build a security system around yourself. Build a security system around your wife. And in the middle of that security system, have an affair. Yeah, have an affair with your wife or with your husband. Oh, that's terrific. And great things will happen. Men have to understand women. And most every woman would say here, you know, I can't always respond. I cannot be rushed. I cannot be compartmentalized. I cannot neglect the environment. Men, did you listen to that? And men and females, to your wife, let them know you are interested in them, that you love being with them. Do some creative things. Create an atmosphere that is dynamic. I don't mind candles. I'll tell you like them, but that's all right. I mean, work at it, ladies, and your husband will say, who is this woman? It'll bring life back in your relationship. Females, if you just show a little bit of spontaneity and creativity, your husband would think, wow. Dr. James Crane, written columns in newspapers all over America for many years. He said that a woman came to him one day, he's a psychotherapist, and said, my marriage is through. There's no love. We fell in love, we've fallen out of love, and my husband has been so negligent of me. He's just criticized me and accused me, and she said, I'm finished. 12 years is enough. I'm getting a divorce. She said, my mind is made up, but she said, Dr. Crane, I've come to you and asked you how I can really get revenge. She said, I don't want a divorce. I want revenge for these 12 years that he's just eaten out of my life. Dr. Crane said, I'll tell you what you do. Are you willing to give another month so you'll really get revenge? She said, I'm willing to do anything. I want a pound of his flesh. He said, this is what you do. He said, when you go home tonight, go fix him the best meal, his favorite meal. And said, just tell him, you know, you love him, you want to prepare this for him. Said, I'll surprise him. She said, he'll be stunned. And he said, you know, brag on him. Ask about what he's doing. And said, tomorrow night you come and you be ready and you be amorous and you want to be with him physically and love him. And said, love him with all your heart, with all your body, with all your soul. Just admire him and just work at the chemistry. And said, do that and please him and encourage him and cheerlead for him and ask about him and tell him how special he is. He said, do this for a solid month. And said, at the end of that month, when he is floating on cloud 9, you tell him, I hate you, I'm leaving you, and I'm getting a divorce. And Dr. Crane said, that'll work. You call me, and I'll get you the meanest lawyer in this city, and this lawyer will take everything he has, and the rest of his life he'll be totally miserable because he'll never find a wife as fabulous as you've been to him that month. She said, I'll do it. Several months went by. He's in a grocery store, and Dr. Crane happened to see her and said, hello, how are you? She said, fine. He said, have you gotten your divorce? She said, divorce? He said, yes, you know, have you severed ties with that tyrant that you were married to? She said, let me tell you something, Dr. Crane. I'm married to the most wonderful man in the world. Put a security system around yourself, you've eliminated 50% of the affairs right there. 50%. Put a security system around your mate, 100% eliminated. In the middle of that security system, have an affair.